What's up everyone, Alex here. I can't help but think that Shadow of the Erdtree, which is Elden Ring's latest DLC, wants you to take more risks. This only matters because Elden Ring was far more forgiving, and wanted players to experience its content at their own pace. And with Shadow of the Erdtree, From Software seems to have ratcheted up the difficulty, making it harder as a result, almost abandoning the base tenets that made the base game so great. Or does it? Let's go deeper and take a look. Shadow of the Erdtree is essentially endgame content that's meant to be played after you've completed the base game. It is significantly harder than anything before, to the point where it requires a new upgrade system to level the playing field. As you explore the new map, you'll come across Shadow Tree fragments and revered Spirit Ash blessings, found primarily by judiciously combing each area or by defeating certain bosses. Shadow Tree fragments juice all of your stats significantly, while Spirit Ash blessings power up summons and torrent. However, even with these upgrades, I found myself struggling in a way I rarely did in the base game. For example, areas that you would normally expect to use a spirit summon sometimes just don't work. Even exploring the new map felt more treacherous, given how dangerous the new enemies proved to be. So why does Shadow of the Erdtree feel like it's made for hardcore fans? At first, it may seem as if the Shadow of the Erdtree abandoned the design ethos that made the base game such a success. This is immediately apparent when you arrive at your first sight of Grace, and notice that it isn't pointing you towards a specific direction, a shocker for many players no doubt, who have relied on the Graces to light their way. But as I explored the Land of Shadow carefully, I found that it still very much encourages you to approach the content at your own pace. If you're struggling, the same advice applies. Just go somewhere else. And the more you dare yourself to explore the world, the more that it rewards you. And the more treasures I obtained and played around with, the more I started to put together how Shadow of the Erdtree systems layered on top of the existing ones. Not only do runes still play a part in how powerful you are, but there's tons of new armor and weapons to try out and expand your options. To go along with these new weapons, the game practically throws upgrade materials at you, incentivizing experimentation. But if there's one big thing that I want you to take away from this, is that the Shadow Tree fragments, which you can find by exploring the world, will make you a lot stronger when compared to using runes. While leveling up through runes still serves a purpose, grinding it out to become strong isn't enough to win. And to reiterate, the stat bumps from Shadow Tree fragments give you significant boosts. While the core design philosophy of just go in a different direction and try something else is still technically true, the focus is now shifted towards obtaining these fragments and spirit blessings. And because of this design, there will be moments when you step into a place that you simply aren't powerful enough to explore, leading you to go elsewhere in search for said items. I believe this, more than anything else, is important to keep in mind for those interested in Shadow of the Erdtree. Do you just like grinding things out until you're a beast? Or do you prefer to intimately understand each and every location and being rewarded with items that make you more powerful? The original game favors both to a degree, while Shadow of the Erdtree heavily prefers the latter. Now, I want to make a clarification here because it might sound like that I'm not a big fan of this DLC given how much I've been talking about the game's difficulty and how that affected my experience, but that's actually not the case. Shadow of the Erdtree's difficulty wasn't a problem for me, as I got a huge thrill from the game being so challenging. And to be fair, the base game feels a bit too easy, especially once you get used to it. Shadow of the Erdtree felt like it leveled the playing field in a way that's fun. If you wanted to play something that made you feel like you did when you first played Elden Ring, Shadow of the Erdtree absolutely delivers. I want to take the time to zoom out a little bit and take a look at the entirety of Shadow of the Erdtree, because From Software really ensured that its new sights and sounds will excite your senses. Just by merely stepping into the lands of Shadow, you emerge into a world covered by a veil of darkness. And this singular snapshot tells you everything you need to know about the world you're about to explore. This is to say that while the original's art direction drenched us with a splash of gilded gold that gave the lands between a unique style, Shadow of the Erdtree takes things even further, fully embracing an even darker and more twisted imagery. Legacy dungeons are still ever imposing and threatening, with dangerous enemies lurking at every corner. Its side dungeons too offer far more theming variations than the original, allowing its developers to tell even more stories through its environments. And let's not forget the powerful bosses that range from the regal and poised to the grotesque and unorthodox, capturing your imagination unlike any game you've played before. Ultimately, it would be reductive to say that Shadow of the Erdtree is just Elden Ring, but more. This is true in a literal sense, but not entirely in execution. Shadow of the Erdtree manages to recreate the magic of playing Elden Ring for the first time. But this has also been a controversial release, one that has the fanbase split between those that wanted to play their way and those that are willing to play by the game's rules. And if you choose to adhere to Shadow of the Erdtree's rules, you'll find a fascinating expansion with beautiful sights and haunting imagery to captivate you. But to me, stepping into the lands of Shadow felt like I've come home, a dark and treacherous home.